Hi, I'm Christopher Warnock of Renaissance Astrology, and today I want to talk about Jupiter time. It's interesting. There's this new thing. I noticed this with, it's not just astrology sites, but it's also just, regular sort of media in general. And what they're tending to do is anything astronomical that comes up, they just hype it like crazy. Like a new moon, they'll change it to this is the flaming cheeseburger moon, and they'll get all like, you're supposed to get all excited about it. They're looking for eyeballs, they're looking for people to pay attention to them, and the hype has just really gotten out of control. So it's kind of refreshing to come across something that really is significant and important. The other thing that happens is that you have stuff that's astronomically significant, but maybe it's not astrologically significant. For example, this is the closest time in its orbit that, the Mars comes to the Earth. Well, that's just not a factor that's used in astrology. I mean, every single thing that happens in astronomy, particularly modern astronomy, is not necessarily used in astrology. Um, so what's going on right now, and I've had a number of people contact me about it, and it definitely is significant and important, is that Jupiter has gone into his sign Pisces. Now Jupiter is the second slowest of the planets. He orbits through the zodiac about one sign every 12 years. The only planet that's slower is Saturn. So when we're looking at, for example, say a Mercury election or a Venus election, we can pretty much count on getting, one or two opportunities a year as the, planets, they go through the entire zodiac. Those two, the inferior planets, go through the zodiac in about a year. So you're going to have, Mercury in Gemini, Mercury in Virgo, Venus in Taurus, Venus in Libra. You're going to have those opportunities. It just doesn't happen with Jupiter and particularly with Saturn. So, right now we've got Jupiter in Pisces. He's very well dignified. He's +5 in essential dignity. There's also some opportunities, depending on where you're located, to have maybe even higher than a super talisman, which is more than +5. Again, you don't want to get too hung up with the essential dignity, but it is nice to have it's a bonus. But really, exaltation or sign is going to give you a very strong talisman, give you all the punch that you really need to do stuff. So what's going to happen is that Jupiter is now very nicely in Pisces. He's going to bop along through Pisces, and by May, he's going to start to go into Aries. Now at that point, he's going to go retrograde, and he's going to go retrograde back almost into Pisces, like the 29th or 28th degrees, and he's going to go direct again. So basically what that means is from now until May, when Jupiter is in Pisces, that's your opportunity to go ahead and kind of jump on it and get the advantage of him being in Pisces. And it won't be till 2025, I looked it up, in June, that he's going to go into Cancer, his exaltation, and be anywhere near as strong as he is now. Now, Aries is not so bad. Aries is going to be by night. He's dignified. He's a night ruler of fire signs. So if you can get a night election with him rising or culminating, you can get +3. Not bad. Usable in a pinch. But boy, that +5, that Pisces is really a great placement for Jupiter. So, really, this actually is something that, you want to capitalize on. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that gets hyped, a lot of stuff that doesn't actually get used in traditional astrology. But this is actually something that you really want to pay attention to, and you can actually take advantage of. And Jupiter is not a planet that you want to miss out on the benefits from. I mean, again, Jupiter is everyone's favorite planet for wealth, for prosperity, all around good fortune, good luck, not to mention justice, temperance, and wisdom. And this is the reason that he's called the greater benefic, the greater fortune, because when he's well dignified and well balanced, he's an extremely positive power to have manifesting your life and those around you. So, Jupiter in Pisces is an excellent placement for Jupiter. Obviously, he's dignified by sign there. That's great. But, Pisces really adds its own special energy. Pisces is a water sign, and Jupiter in Pisces, you've got excellent emotional awareness, EQ, super empathetic, very aware of what's going on. It's also super artistic, poetic, and there's sadness in this too. There's a lot of emotional connection, but there's also a great deal of joy. I mean, I have Jupiter in Pisces, so that really is one of my experiences of Pisces, is that there's a great amount. I mean, I can listen to music and be very strongly emotionally affected by it. This is really sort of one of the gifts of Pisces. I see Pisces in Aquarius. They're the end of the zodiac, as often being signatures of what you might call an old soul. This is somebody that's been reincarnated many times. Maybe they're ending, getting closer and closer to enlightenment, but certainly someone who's had an incredible amount of experience, and wisdom that's manifested from these previous lives. So another thing about Jupiter and Pisces is it can manifest as ecstatic spirituality. If you think of the Sufi Sama, the musical ceremony, and also as direct mystic union with the divine. Again, this is certainly not the most predominant, but that potentiality is always there with Jupiter and Pisces. So again, I like Jupiter and Pisces a lot. I guess I'm biased. I have Jupiter and Pisces myself, but I think it's a great placement. It's a great energy of Jupiter modulated through that of Pisces. So, we've got this going on right now. How can we connect to and then manifest this really positive spirit of Jupiter, or the angel of Jupiter, archangel, and all these different spirits of Jupiter, and manifest them so that they, come out during this auspicious period? Really, one of the most effective ways to interact with Jupiter, or any celestial spirit, is to get or to make a Jupiter talisman. With a talisman, what you've got is an extremely concentrated dose of that planet. If you're thinking of it from like a beam or a ray kind of situation or a battery situation, it's very, very heavily charged with energy. Another way to look at it is this is a portal or a window into their sphere, so you have a very direct connection to it. It's almost like having their cell phone number. You call them right up on your speed dial, boom, you're immediately in connection with them in a very strong and positive way. So Renaissance astrology, obviously Jupiter's a big focus for us. Jupiter is probably everyone's favorite talisman for wealth. So that's something that we definitely focused on. We love them as well, just personally because we love Jupiter. Our talismans are all professionally made and created at the most positive, auspicious times that we could find, and we have a very wide selection of Jupiter talismans. So take a look. In particular, I like the Crown Jupiter talisman, which is Jupiter and Pisces talisman. Also, there's a number of other talismans, and you can check those out. The links are in the description. Take a look at those. Got a whole variety of different Jupiter talismans, and in different price ranges or whatever. So I do also want to mention, in addition to the Crown Jupiter, also we have the Jupiter Al-Alim talisman, which is a Sufi talisman, which is made specifically for knowledge of the subtlest aspect of the sciences and the most hidden secrets. This is really a wisdom talisman. That's what this has been optimized for. So again, very interesting to check that out. You can look at the description, get the link to there. But you don't need to buy a talisman to experience the positive power of Jupiter at this super auspicious time. You can make your own talisman. Now, to do this properly, you really need to have a full chart election. And obviously that's taught in my courses, but you're not going to be able to get through my course in enough time to be able to do that. What you could do, though, is to have me do an election for you. I can go and look at your location and give you the time, date, and time range that would be most auspicious for making a Jupiter talisman. And if you do that, I'm happy to go ahead and email you, along with the election, a color Jupiter image that you can use, and also a consecration, Picatrix consecration that I use for talismans. So definitely something to think about. Again, you can check out the description. You can see the link to an election. Cost is $60 for me to do that. The only thing I would say about that is that you kind of need to leave it to me. I'll find what I consider to be the most auspicious Jupiter election. Now, there's lots of ways to do that, but what you're going to get is my way. And if you want to do it your way, you should probably do it yourself. If you want to have me do it, then you're definitely going to get the best that I can do and the factors that I do that. But what I don't do is argue with people about it, or people ask me to explain. Can you explain this? In other words, they're saying, why did you make such a bad election for me? The natal-based way that people are used to thinking, I don't use. I use traditional astrology, and then also have my own particular style. So just keep that in mind. I mean, I do the absolute best, get you the best I can. It may not be exactly what you would do, but that's one of the things about electional astrology in general. Now, if you're thinking about buying or making a Jupiter talisman, we should think about where Jupiter is in your natal chart. Now, if Jupiter in your natal chart is in Pisces, Sagittarius, or Cancer, well, that's great. I mean, you already have a really strong connection with Jupiter. you're going to get a really great boost, most likely, from doing a Jupiter talisman or buying a Jupiter talisman and doing the invocation. If Jupiter, on the other hand, is in Virgo, Gemini, or Capricorn, Jupiter's probably not the best choice for you. Jupiter's, in fall or detriment. But if Jupiter's in any other sign and is not retrograde in combos without dignity, then again, Jupiter is going to be a good choice for you. So if you're serious about getting a Renaissance Astrology Talisman, I'd be happy to take a look at your natal chart. Just email me. Again, the email is over there in the description, chriswarnock@renaissanceastrology.com. If you do want me to check a talisman, make sure you email me to have me check it before you order. Please don't order and then say, oh yeah, would you check it for me? That just gets all very confusing and messed up. But I'd be happy to do that. If you think, yeah, I want to get a Renaissance Astrology Talisman, I'd be happy to do that for you. But that again raises the issue of, well, wait a second, what if my Jupiter is in Virgo, Capricorn, or Gemini, or it's combos without dignity, or I have my own methodology and I think it's afflicted for whatever reason I think it's afflicted. I'm concerned about that. Well, here's the thing. Talismans are a very, very high intensity way of interacting with the planetary spirits, with the planetary angels. You're going to get a really concentrated dose of them. You're getting really close contact with them in a powerful way. So if they're afflicted in your chart and you kind of have a bad, it's almost like my way of thinking about it is you sort of have a bad past with them. It's sort of like if you have an uncle you don't get along with. Now, it's not impossible to deal with them, but it's just a little more difficult. So what you can do is have a more low intensity interaction. And I've got two methods that I can suggest for that, I would say, a low intensity interaction. One is a daily planetary practice, and the other is planetary charity. Again, if you look at the description, I've got links to those, my website that gives instructions and explains further about them. Now, the daily planetary practice, what that is every day I invoke the planet that rules a day. So, for example, today's Sunday. I'm going to invoke the sun, light incense, and a candle. And then every day I invoke the planet that rules a day. And I do that continuously. I don't do a huge invocation. I'm not timing it very much other than the day. I mean, you could do planetary hour. That's good. But that's as much as I do. And I do it continuously. And I've been doing that for almost 20 years now. So that's very low intensity. I mean, for example, Mars is afflicted in my chart, but I really, even though on Tuesday I invoke him, it's never caused any problems or any difficulties. So that's an excellent way of interacting with them. You could make a special effort to, make some special deal for Jupiter now. You could use special candles or something like that, whatever. You could just, it's really free form in terms of that, but that's one way to do it. The other thing is if your Jupiter is afflicted, is to actually start actively working with that with planetary charity. Again, this is inspired by Vedic astrology. What you do is if you have a planet that's afflicted, you make a donation to a person or an activity or a project or charity or whatever that's ruled by that planet. I mean, Saturn's my favorite example for that. He's rules homeless people, and there's most places there's homeless people, and you can definitely make a donation to them. So Jupiter would be something like a university, something justice, maybe social justice would be a good thing to donate to. There's all sorts of things for like that. Schools, teaching, that sort of thing. There's a lot of positive things that you can do that are Jupiter related. If you go to my website and look at planets and then look at Jupiter, you can see the things ruled by Jupiter in any of those. But like I said, social justice, government, almost any kind of charity is, really does fall along those lines. So what you do is you invoke the planet, in this case Jupiter. You make a vow. You say, I'm going to make a certain set number of donations. And then, again, look at my website for the appropriate number. This is used from Agrippa. And then you make those donations at the planetary hour of the planet. Now, probably the most important thing with this is don't make that vow and then break it. Oh, yeah, I was busy, or, I couldn't make it. It's like you really want to, it's like promising to go see someone that you're having troubles with and you want to make up with them and you promise to go visit them and then you just blow it off. You're not helping things at all in that situation. It's not a total disaster, but if you're trying to improve your relationship with a planet, then, you don't want to break it. And this isn't something like, oh my God, they're going to come hunt me down. It's like a demon or something that's going to be after me for life. These are angels. So it's just, if you've got a problem, you're not making it any better if you're not keeping your vow. So that's something else to do. I mean, I wouldn't get too hung up about that, but it's just, like I said, something to be, it's not respectful if you're going to do it that way. So there's a whole variety of things that we can do now. And obviously now is a really good time to be interacting with the planets. As Picatrix says, if the planet's well dignified, then it's like they're in a good mood. And if you ask them for something, they're much more likely to give it to you. I mean, and that's really how I look at it. I mean, Jupiter's powerful now. He's happy. He's doing well. He's in his sign. He's in Pisces. That makes him happy in particular. And so, this is a really good time to be kind of getting in touch with him and saying, hey, how you doing? I'd ask you to do something for me. Really, my approach is than asking for specific things, it's just to hang out with him. And again, this is a nice time to be hanging out with Jupiter. He's in a really great mood and spreading a lot of good vibes. Certainly we need that right now. That would be very useful. So that's what I recommend. So take a look again at our talismans. If you're thinking about buying one, you can get, they're beautiful. Obviously that's going to be something that's going to be an immediate strong connection with Jupiter. You can make one yourself. That's great too. And also these other planetary charity and daily planetary practice that you can engage in. Anybody can do those, even if your Jupiter's in good shape. It's perfectly great to do planetary charity for, the planet in whatever state it is in your natal chart. But definitely if it's afflicted, that's another option for you to go ahead and still not lose out on this amazing period. So it's kind of cool. Like I said, so often this stuff gets hyped and there's nothing to it. But if you've been hearing about Jupiter in Pisces and you're thinking, oh my God, I need to take advantage of it, well, I'm going to add to that chorus and say this is a great time to take advantage of Jupiter. Now, what we're doing is we're just casting like crazy. We have a lot of elections for talismans that we're doing. We're doing lots of Jupiter talismans, and we're going to stock up because we got a long time to go until Jupiter's this strong again. And that's really, the secret of our talismans is that we look out, we find the absolute most perfect times for things that we can get. And we make, we have a limited number we can make, but we certainly make talismans and we'll stockpile them. So we're not going to be, hopefully, unless they get super popular, running out of Jupiter talismans before Jupiter comes back to Cancer in 2025. So again, exciting time for Jupiter. Definitely a planet that, everybody loves if they can get along with them, and something that you want to also take advantage of. So again, check everything out. Check out the links in the description. And I hope that you will join me in saying all hail Jupiter.